Hello students, how are you? Welcome back to our channel. In last chapter we were discussing about the human rights for 8th standard that will be continued in this chapter. And in a previous video of the same lesson, obviously two topics were covered. First of all, the definition of the human rights. Next one, how the human rights were developed. So this is the topic that actually we had completed in a previous video. So that meaning of the human rights and how the human rights were developed. First of all, the human rights concept was originated in the Greeks and all, and then the Blood Revolution took place in England, French Revolution, American Revolution. So that in these important development, obviously human rights can be traced back. Now in this video we will learn further topics. First of all, Human Rights Declaration already we know. So it was declared in the year 1948 in United Nations Organization, that is December 10. So this is the Declaration of Human Rights that already has been completed. Now in this video we are supposed to discuss or cover the topic regarding human rights and Indian Constitution. So this is the topic that we are going to have the discussion. Next, finally, the ways of implementing the human rights, how the human rights are getting implemented across the world and how these are getting implemented in India. So what are the important bodies created meant for implementation of these human rights? So these are important various topics that we are going to have the discussion. Let us continue. Students, let us continue with the topic that is human rights and Indian Constitution. So Declaration of Human Rights by the United Nations Organization is discussed in the preamble of Indian Constitution and fundamental rights parts of the Indian Constitution. Means fundamental rights are included in the part 3 of the Indian Samvidhan, and the Declaration of Human Rights are also made by United Nations Organization, that is called UNO, in the year 1948. So and December 10. So this is the day on which that Human Rights Declaration came into existence. Now let us continue. Then in a preamble, obviously preamble like it is introduction to the Indian Constitution. So if you want to understand entire the Indian Constitution, then if you understand the preamble, so that is enough to understand what our Constitution is trying to establish. Next one, in the preamble, equality, fraternity and freedoms are discussed. So these are the obviously the topics related to human rights. Next one, this is discussed in the part 3 of the Indian Constitution from the article 12 to 35 under the fundamental rights. Remember here, fundamental rights are included in the third part of the Indian Constitution, and this third part start from 12th article to 35th article. So these are fundamental rights. Now we can say the fundamental rights, discussion about the fundamental rights start from article 12 to 35 of Indian Constitution, and these are included in the third part. Next one, obviously this is the picture of Indian Constitution, and there were 7 fundamental rights in original constitutions, and but later by the 44th constitutional amendment of 1978, the right to property was taken out of the fundamental rights, and now it has been made as a constitutional right, remember here, and it is included in the article 300 clause A. Now we can say when this Indian Constitution came into existence in the year 1950, at that time there were totally 7 fundamental rights, but in the year 1978, one of the 7th fundamental right, it was deleted and it was inserted as 300 clause A article. Means it is not fundamental right, now it can be called as a constitutional right. So as a result of this small amendment or change, amendment means making the changes, as a result of this amendment, then now there are only 6 fundamental rights available for the people of India. Okay. So obviously what are the important fundamental rights given for the Indian people? That is given here: right to equality, right to freedom, right to against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, right to cultural and educational right, right to constitutional remedies. So totally we can expect 6 fundamental rights in Indian Constitution available for the people of India. Even certain fundamental rights are available even for the foreigners who are living in India. Now, differences between the fundamental rights and human rights, so that we have to understand. So obviously we know that in the case of the fundamental rights, these are there are only 6 fundamental rights given for the people of India. Okay. Now human rights. So what are the differences that we can identify? See here, human rights they are given here in clear picture. So that human rights: right to assemble, right to association, right to movement, right to religion, right to speech, right to information, right to press, right to thought, right to education. Totally these are all called as a human rights. Obviously few part of the human rights can be seen in the fundamental rights, and whatever the fundamental rights are meant for, so that our human rights are also trying to establish equality among all. So that human rights are universal in the nature and are necessary for the holistic development of human being. So what they are trying to make it clear, so differences between human rights and fundamental rights, so that these human rights are universally applicable, means no one is there in the world who are excluded from the human rights. So that everyone born on this earth are entitled for human rights. So, and these are very necessary for the holistic development of all human being. So without human rights, no human being can develop. If you want to make people or human being to be developed one, then we should make sure that human rights are available for all the people. Next one, and these in the sense that is human rights, these uphold the dignity of all human being. Next one, their violations are not protected by the court of the law. Remember, this is very important. In the case of violation of the fundamental rights, if the fundamental rights of the Indian citizens are violated, then you can directly knock the door of Supreme Court or High Court. But in the case of the violation of human rights, now there is no legal protection. We cannot move to the court or High Court anywhere. So these are universally applicable but not legally implemented. Okay. So this is the differences that we can identify. Next one, the fundamentals rights. In the case of the fundamental rights, then fundamental rights are ensured by the constitution, means these are given by the constitution to the people of India or their respective country, and their violations are addressed by the Supreme Court or High Court. Remember, here it is very clearly is given. If once the fundamental rights are violated, then so that legal protection is given by Supreme Court of India, even High Courts. Obviously there are many various 24 High Courts we can identify in 24 plus 1, so totally 25 High Courts we can identify in India. One in Maharashtra, another one is Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh. So wherever you go, then you will find the High Courts. If fundamental rights are violated, if right to equality is violated, then you can go to Supreme Court. Here is the picture of the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court is like a watchdog of your fundamental rights. If the violation of the fundamental rights is taking place, then Supreme Court will come to the picture and they try to establish they try to make sure that fundamental rights are made available for the people of India. Okay. Next one, the fundamental rights are specific in the nature and these are protected by the constitutional laws. So these are specific, means it has been specified. There are only 6 fundamental rights. Specifically it has been mentioned. But in the case of human rights, these are not specifically mentioned, so that they may go on changing. And these fundamental rights are protected by the constitutional laws. Then laws will be made, like remember here, cultural and educational right. Now RTE Act has been passed by the Parliament of India. So RTE in the year 2005 it has been implemented by Manmohan Singh government. So that here the various laws will be made by the government of India to protect the fundamental rights. So that in the case of religion, in the case of right to equality, so that everywhere so certain laws are made. Next one, institutions of the human rights protection. Now let's understand the United Nations organization meeting with all the member states. State means all the member countries. Now let us understand, United Nations organization is having 193 countries in the world. So 193 members are there to the UNO, United Nations organization. So these 193 countries are called as a member states of United Nations organization. And in the year 1966, and has directed all the member states to remain the committed to protect the human rights. So that as per the declaration made by United Nations organization in the year 1966, already we know that in the year 1948, so that Human Right Declaration Act was passed by United Nations organization. So that in a couple of years, I mean in the year 1966, so one more declaration was made by United Nations organization. It directed to all the states, all the member state. Member state means 193 countries. 193 countries, that one should be committed to protect the human rights in their respective country. And an international human rights commission is formed at the international level. Now this is quite very important. Please make note. So one international human rights commission is established. What is meant for it? What is the purpose of this one? Is to protect the human rights across the world. And as a supportive to this, National Human Rights Commission and State Human Rights Commissions are also formed at the national level, even state level. Now, to support to this act, means Act of or Declaration of 1966, that even in India in the year 1993, one National Human Rights Commission was started. In India today also it is present. If there is any violation of human rights in India, then this National Human Rights Commission will come to the picture and they try to protect the human rights. Even at state level also we are having in state Karnataka State Human Rights Commission. So that in other states in India, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, so West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, whatever the states we are having, in all the states they are having their own respective State Human Rights Commission. Now let us understand National Human Rights Commission established in India. Okay, this is the picture we can say, logo we can say, and it was established through the legislation. Legislation means like a law. It was established through the law by the Parliament in the year 1993. So that we can say National Human Rights Commission came into existence in India in the year 1993 by the Act of Parliament. Act of Parliament means by the law of the Parliament, and it is a watchdog of human rights in a country. And it is also multi-member body. Remember, this is quite interesting. So this National Human Rights Commission, it is named as, it is a watchdog of human rights, means it will try to protect the human rights. If there is any violation of human rights, even by the police, even by the military, even by the government of India, then human rights will never ever make hesitation while criticizing the culprit, we can say. And obviously it is a multi-member body, means in this Human Rights Commission there will be one chairman and multiple members will be there. Now let us understand how it is composed. And the chairman should be the retired judge of the Supreme Court, means it has one chairman and 4 members. So totally this Human Rights Commission is consisting 5 members, 4 members, 1 chairman. So totally it is a multiple member body, and chairman should be retired judge of Supreme Court. Obviously this is the Supreme Court, and if any person who got retired from Supreme Court as a judge of Supreme Court, means earlier who worked as a judge of Supreme Court, one has to retire, then he can be appointed as a chairman of National Human Rights Commission. Next one, the member should be either the current judges of the High Court or retired judges. Now already we know. Now let us understand what is the qualification of other members of the Human Rights Commission in India. So these 4 members, they should be either current judges of High Court or they should have been retired judge of High Court. Means they need not to be the judges of Supreme Court. Obviously if they are judge of Supreme Court, then they can be appointed, but minimum qualification, they should have been worked as a judge of High Court or retired working as a judge of High Court or retired judges of any High Court in India. Obviously we know that 25 High Courts are there, 24 or 25. So make sure that how many are there. Okay. And 2 members should have been practical knowledge of the human rights. So the commission has 4 ex officio members. Ex officio members means they have been already in enjoying certain position in India, As a result of that position, they will automatically become the member of Human Rights Commission. So this is ex officio membership. Next one, chairman and members are appointed by the President of India. This is quite very interesting. Who will appoint the chairman and member of the Human Rights Commission in India? Human Rights Commission in the sense that is the National Human Rights Commission in India. So these chairman and members of Human Rights Commissions in India are appointed by President of India, and their tenure is only 5 years or till the attainment of 70 years of the age or whichever is earlier. If once that person is appointed a member of National Human Rights Commission, he can remain in the office for about 5 years or till attainment of 70 years. So whichever earlier, that will be made available or applicable. Now they receive the remuneration, means salary, as fixed by the central government. Central government will decide how much salary has to be paid to the members and chairman of the Human Rights Commission. And commission has been mandated to function independently without any prejudice and interference. So without any interference, without influence, it try to work independently. So that Human Rights Commission in state, let us understand. Karnataka Human Rights Commission panel, we can say, or commission also you can understand. As per the Human Rights Law in the year 1993, state Human Rights Commission are established at the state level. So they take the human rights violation cases for the hearing and they will give the judgment, and the state commission has one chairman and only 2 members. In the case of the National Human Rights Commission, one chairman and 4 members, totally so 5. Here in the case of the State Human Rights Commission, only one person as a chairman and two members of the State Human Rights Commission. In Karnataka also we are having a State Human Rights Commission. Next one, the chairman should be retired judge from the High Court. Now let's understand what are the important qualifications to become the State Human Rights Commission in Karnataka. So that chairman should have been or should be a retired judge from the High Court. Only High Court, not Supreme Court. They have not mentioned anything about the Supreme Court. And the member should be either serving High Court judge or retired judges, and should have served as at the district court for at least 7 years, and they are appointed by the governor. In the case of the State Human Rights Commission, all the members or chairman of the State Human Rights Commission, they are appointed by governor of their respective state. In Karnataka, so Vajubhai Wala, or earlier he was, now whoever the governor is there working, obviously same person is there. That person will appoint the chairman and members of the State Human Rights Commission or Karnataka Human Rights Commission. Next one, National Commission for Scheduled Caste. Now remember, here we are discussing about the commissions or institutions which are meant to protect the human rights in India. First of all, we discussed about National Human Rights Commission. Next, second one is State Human Rights Commission. Now another important organization in India which is also meant for protecting the human rights in India, that is National Commission for Scheduled Caste, means SC. Next one, National Commission for Scheduled Caste and Tribes. It was bifurcated in the year 2003 by the Act 89th Amendment to the Article 338. This is quite interesting. Remember here, earlier we can say there was only one Human Rights Commission, National Human Rights Commission for SC and ST, but this was bifurcated into 2 parts. Now there are National Commission for Scheduled Caste and another one National Commission for Scheduled Tribe. So different commissions are established, and this bifurcation means division took place in the year 2003 by the 89th Constitutional Amendment to the Article 338 of Indian Constitution. Next one, National Commission for Scheduled Caste and National Commission for Scheduled Tribe were formed as a result of this amendment in the year 2003. The National Commission for Scheduled Caste has one chairman and one vice chairman and other three members. So totally here also the National Commission for Scheduled Caste or SC, so it is 5 members body. So one will be chairman, another one is vice chairman, and 3 members will be there in the National Commission for Scheduled Caste.